All right, so before we start, say goodbye to the old studio because we're getting an upgrade. Oh crap, hang on. There we go. So as you can see, I'm filming from my office aboard the freighter Starfang. That's where we're going to be for now. So if you like the video, please hit like and subscribe. And now, I'd like to talk about building in space. Space, a vast and ever-changing frontier. We look up at it from our tiny speck of a planet and see a vast and innumerable possibility. From the dawn of our species, we've wondered at the multitude of stars and asked one question: how do we get there? To some, the heavens were a place you could only go after you'd passed the veil of death. Others looked up and saw gods smiling down, moving us like chess pieces or hurling lightning bolts at the unworthy. Others reached up and knew that we could touch those heights, and with technology and labor, we could get there. We innovated and created, imagined and built our way off our planet, and now know that space is a place we can touch. And when we finally reach up and find our way into the deeper reaches of the black, what will we do then? We'll build and create and innovate and push the frontier further and further ahead, always something to reach for. This is what games like No Man's Sky show us. This is what we reach for, the frontier. And in No Man's Sky, we can imprint part of ourselves in the vast outer reaches. We can create places where we truly belong. First, though, we have to survive. When we first enter the world, we find ourselves in a precarious situation. We're stranded with a crashed and smoking spaceship and very little to repair it. All but a vanishingly small handful of us also find ourselves in an environment that is slowly eating away at our life support systems. If we do not find what we need and repair our systems, we will not survive. No Man's Sky begins as a survival crafting simulator of sorts, though what sets it apart is that instead of focusing on realistic building and crafting mechanics with tools and benches and other restrictions to overcome, we're encouraged to explore our surroundings and gather what we can with the tool we have at our disposal, so we can survive the harsh elements. We aren't focused on crafting new items so much as we are on repairing what we have. Items we need to make can be produced in our inventory. By accessing menus, pieces of technology fit into slots in our equipment inventory so that all we have to do is make a thing and put it into a functioning technology slot to make use of it. It can get damaged if we die, but generally durability is not a big factor in No Man's Sky, and from time to time, many of these systems will need refueling, and by feeding them either elements we find in various environments or by crafting batteries and fuel cells, which is easily done in our inventory. This limits the challenging part of our exploration and survival, and leaves crafting to be a relatively simple affair. In simplifying their craft system, Hello Games has overcome a few challenges that often happen when you translate challenges you might face in the real world into problems to overcome in the setting of a game. For one thing, you don't need benches, craft stations, or tools. This departure from more realistic mechanics allows us to forgo the need to constantly return to a particular place or set up stations along the way, which have their place in some games, but in one so vast as No Man's Sky, with an infinity to explore, having to stop to do these mundane tasks would really feel out of place and leave at least me frustrated. The system fits the setting well, it was well designed, and while there are some challenges, they integrate well into the story and the main focus of the game, which is exploration. One of the problems I find myself running into is inventory and technology management, which can be a little difficult to get your mind around when there are limits to the number of a certain type of upgrade you can add and how to figure out where those limits are. They've gone out of their way to make the system an uncomplicated one, though sometimes I feel like this has made it more complex in other ways. It can be difficult to tell exactly what benefit adding a certain piece of tech will give you and whether it's worth scrapping one for another. This makes decision making a little bit difficult. We spend a lot of our time exploring the deeper reaches of space and jumping from system to system looking for something. It isn't always clear what, but we usually know when we find it. We find ourselves hunting for the recipes and ingredients to craft relic technology, which can provide us useful benefits to our gear, or digging up lost treasures which we need to activate portals that let us find precise locations. From these humble beginnings, we can learn to build what we need to not only survive, but to upgrade our equipment and find our place in the universe. Once our weapons and tools are working and our ship's been repaired, after finally finding and building what we need, we're ready to launch off of our first planet and really go exploring. So you break the atmosphere and look back at the place you came from. Swirling clouds or massive blizzards, vast scorching deserts or deadly toxic forests, all fading away below you. You can't believe that moments before you were stuck and struggling to break free, and now, here you are. You see an icon on your scanner. Ahead, it looks like there might be a station in the distance. You need some fuel for your pulse engine first, so you maneuver through the black until you find what you're looking for. Tritium-rich rocks floating in space. You begin to blast away at them. You'll soon have enough. Then, a red light flashes. Your scanner's picked up a signal. You receive a transmission. It's a threat. Pirates. You don't deal with pirates. You accept the challenges and power up your weapons. You're ready to fight. You hope. Either way, it's win or die. The battle over, you fuel up your pulse engine and head over to the station. You need repairs. You need upgrades. Maybe you'll find what you need. Once you get to the station, there isn't a whole lot of crafting to be done for now, not in the early game. You can visit the shipbuilder and ship scrapper, but it'll take a while before you're ready to make use of these places. There are vendors, though, and they sell all sorts of cool stuff. Upgrades for your weapon systems, your mining tools, and your exosuit. You can mine more materials faster, you can survive in harsher terrain, and more importantly, you can fight aliens and pirates alike with upgraded weapon systems. You don't have the cash on you right now, though, so you've got to find someone to give you a job. And it just so happens there's a friendly local with a bunch of missions to hand out to an explorer like you. You take as many as you can at this stage. Some simple scanning missions and an item drop-off. Some of these coordinates, though, they aren't in this system. You don't have a working hyperdrive yet, so you'll have to save that one until later. You can now really get to customizing things. If you found enough money, you may be able to buy a better ship than the one you have. If not, you can upgrade your ship a little to get you started. You'll have to fight and explore and trade until you're a little richer. Upgrades come in a wide variety of types, and you really get a feel for what you can do with them. Your mining tool becomes a powerful shotgun. You can throw a heavy energy cannon on your ship and add a few damage upgrades. You can throw in some better shields. You can fly around in a cannon on wings, or you can outfit yourself to carry more cargo with some inventory upgrades. You can get really into it and max out one particular stat, or generalize. And once you can afford new ships, you can make one of everything. The system's really good for the sort of technical stat mixing and maxing that I enjoy putting time into. It also lets you mix or swap out cool features for others that change the way your systems function, like adding rockets to your combat systems or upgrading your mining laser to work as a weapon instead. It does tend to lack a certain amount of visual customization, though. Some people love to roll the dice with some of the procedural designs, but building your own ships from parts is a feature that was recently added and allows you to put a bit more design into your vessels, but in my opinion, it could use some work. Maybe add some more ship classes to mix and match parts with. Allow for something a little more free form if possible. The same is true for your weapons. I like the surprise of procedural generation, but I really like to build or mod a tool that fits my own sense of design. Menu navigation can be a little bit tedious as well. Switching weapons requires remembering hotkeys, and because of the simple UI design, you don't really get to see which tool is equipped to which hotkey without scrolling through a menu or two, which can be annoying at best and deadly at worst. The system does make it easy to use what's available, and not put too much thought into it if you just want to build a high damage fighter with cool weapons using upgrades purchased from station vendors. You can do that and get right into the action. You can also put a lot more time and thought into it, what you really wanted of a ship, and use features like the shipbuilder, upgrades, and weapon systems to create something a little more unique. Overall, it balances the need to simplify problems to fit the needs of good game design so that you don't have to spend too much time tinkering with one game system if you find it boring and want to get back out exploring or fighting. You can also build a cargo hauler and mine asteroids in relative peace for a while to get some resources. Don't let your guard down completely, though. There are pirates out there, so have some weapon and shield upgrades installed. This aspect of the system fits well into the universe. You have to trade and explore to get recipes and resources, which keeps you interacting with the world around you. You can also visit other players at this point using the space anomaly, which will take you to a multiplayer hub filled with more vendors, players, quests, and other things that are not only fun, but can open up new ways to get higher tier resources to build with. You can also get decorative items here for your base that you can't find elsewhere. Seeing them makes you kind of want to start building something. So you leave the Nexus and are back in your starting system. You still don't have a hyperdrive, but a quick system scan shows that there's a planet in the system that doesn't look quite as dangerous as the one you left. A little cold, sure, but you can work with that. You wander a little way away and set up your first base terminal. You start with a few walls and a roof, nothing more than a shack. But soon, you've got a castle. Walls and towers and balconies overlooking the land around you, proof against the wandering beasts and no match for the elements. You're safe here. You put your feet up and admire the banners and furniture, the burning fireplace and the cozy atmosphere. You've built home. Your first one anyway. This build system is pretty free and lets you get creative. There are a mix of individual structural elements and prefabricated structures you can build. Some of these don't work well with others, which makes things a little more difficult, and if you want to get really big with your structures, you'll need to make sure you can get around the place while building so you can place things where you want them. Your jetpack comes in handy for this, though you're better off building things to stand on if you find you need to get to a vantage point and stay there. That said, a build camera feature has been added, which is really handy. It puts you up in the air and at a convenient vantage point while building complex things. This is super helpful and needs to be put into more games. The terrain manipulation mechanic is really handy. You can cut through solid rock and build inside the tunnels and caverns you've made. You can also go underwater and build massive hidden bases beneath the waves. Of course, you have to spend a lot of time getting resources, the bigger you want to go, but that's what No Man's Sky is all about. Explore, craft, mine, fight, and trade to get what you need and get creative. You are also under no obligation to spend as much time on this system as I, for example, have. Throw up a few walls on a roof to protect yourself from storms on hostile planets, and that's all you need. You can begin getting really into it and build massive farms, mining operations at your base to increase the yield of materials, build feeders to attract animals, atmosphere extractors to collect gases you want to work with, and mining machines to collect minerals and resources for you if you want to go questing or pirate hunting. Maybe you want to do some scouting though, and when you do, you find something most interesting. A small settlement in need of leadership. You walk into the center of town and find a tower with a terminal. After interacting with it for a few moments, something interesting has occurred. You are now the leader of a settlement, with your own office and everything. You find your desk is always cluttered and there's always something that needs seeing to. New settlers coming in, new buildings proposed. You've got to keep them happy, and from time to time, the drones attack, and you have to fight them off. But you get a market build and bars, factories, homes, and eventually you have a steady income of resources to trade with. This system's great if you don't mind a little less freedom when it comes to building, but enjoy managing technical tasks. You could forgo building your separate base altogether if you don't mind a narrow range of options, and just stick with having a settlement if you want to admire your work, but don't have time to spend building massive bases and fortresses. The buildings provide safety from the elements and dangers of the world. You have to occasionally fend off hostile drones. You have a hub where you can trade goods for cash, find new ships to purchase and keep or scrap. Overall, get a sense of accomplishment from keeping things running smoothly without having to worry about power lines or hooked up to which generators and all that kind of technical stuff. If you prefer, you can do both and build something truly unique and interesting, or just use the town as another place to get resources from when you need them. It smooths out the curve of having to get really involved in building infrastructure, though it is a little limiting on its own. Having both a settlement management system and a base building system is a good way to keep different types of players interested, though they don't work super well together and they feel very separate, which can be a little annoying when I see an opportunity to add more to the settlement by building around it and finding that I can't do it without cheating the system a little. I can't attach things to settlement buildings, and base terminals need to be set a certain distance away. I think a settlement should just act as its own base terminal and allow you to build within it. But after our base is built and our settlement is functioning, we've traded and gathered and we have some money, we finally build and fuel up our first hyperdrive, and now we're ready for deep space. We know where home is, and now we need to travel and see the rest of the galaxy. So, we leave the planet behind us, travel up through the swirling storms and break through the atmosphere. The stars lie before us, and we open our galactic map and see our quest marker in a system not too far away. Our drive isn't fully upgraded, but it's powerful enough, and so we set our course, and before we know it, we're speeding through a tunnel of stars and planets toward our destination. The computer chimes, and we see the stars come back into focus as we drop out of hyperspace. Ahead, a vast shape looms, beams of light streaming from its flanks as smaller vessels circle. A light in our cockpit blinks red. We're too close. A red marker on our scanner, and we're being fired upon. Good thing we installed those rockets. We pull up and lock on, and soon our attacker is nothing but atoms floating in space. We're not out of the woods yet, though. We bring up our cannons and join the fight, dodging beams of fire and plunging below the belly of the massive freighter. We lock on and blast the pirates from the sky, one by one. Soon, the skies are silent. A field of debris floats calmly nearby, and a transmission crackles over our comms. The captain of the freighter would like to offer us thanks for saving his ship and crew. The landing bay opens as we let it pull us in, and we land inside. We make our way up from the hangar and find ourselves on the bridge, bustling with activity. There the captain sits, and he spins in his seat as we approach. He makes us an offer, and dreams of flying through the stars surrounded by riches flash before our eyes. With a shake of his claw, we are now in command of the mighty ship. Before long, we've filled the hangar with our newest acquisitions. We've purchased the help of other captains, and we have a small trade fleet. And we've hired a squadron of pilots to help us fight off pirates. We've built med bays and fortresses and trade rooms and fleet command sections, and soon our mothership is a maze. We have a weapon master and a scientist and a farm. We can summon ships and vehicles planetside when our freighter's in system and send gathered materials back home to be stored in our massive cargo bays. Having a freighter is great for anyone who's really into interacting with the build and craft mechanics of the game. Not only can it operate as a mobile secondary base, it allows you to build in all kinds of functional technology that helps you gather more supplies. Onboard farming to get some more resources that you'd have to travel a great distance to find otherwise, and provide services when you're planetside, like beaming down vehicles and allowing you to send gathered materials back up for storage so you don't have to constantly return home and find a trade terminal to unload your inventory if you're trying to get a bunch of materials to build something cool. The base building mechanics on the freighter offer a scaled down and less complex version of the same system when used planet-side. There are more limitations on where you can build and what, but you can really get creative. The ability to send out your fleet ships on missions can be really helpful if you don't have a ton of time to spend in-game, but still want to get useful things. But it doesn't impact my desire to get out there and collect things in the traditional way, which is good. The things I can get using this system are different than what I would spend time collecting, and what I don't use I can just sell off. Speaking of the fleet, you can train and level your fleet ships, build and add aid items for missions, and when they return damaged, you have to go on over and do some repairs yourself. This gives you a real sense of care and investment. You can choose the proportion of combat, science, trade, and exploration vessels in your fleet, which can affect which types of missions they do best, and you can get rid of ships that don't work well for one reason or another. This doesn't exactly fall into the category of being building mechanic, but really it is. It's a chance to get creative with the collection of ships you acquire and with what combination of ships you send out on missions. Every failed mission means more repairs and more fuel you have to buy or make for your next one. So, you're finally ready for your first freighter warp run. You select a likely system from the map, ensure your drive is fueled up, and boom! The stars turn into a tunnel of light and you're flying through space again, only this time with thousands of tons of steel at your back and your small starship's docked in the hangar. You come out of warp and immediately initiate a scan. You detect not only a paradise planet, but there's something else. A strange icon, something you've not seen before. You head down to the hangar and hop into your starship. You head over to the planet and dive into the atmosphere. You break through the clouds and see a wonderful sight. Towers and buildings everywhere, farms and mining operations set up, and the green glowing rings of a landing pad welcoming you to visit. You exit your ship and find another docked nearby. Someone else has been here and you found their little slice of home. You see them then, coming down from a tower to greet you. You've made a new friend, and soon, with permission, you're trading and they've given you the grand tour. This place has everything, but with both of you, it could be better. You talk it out, and not far away, you start another base of your own. Eventually, you're building together, and between the two of you, you've built the grandest city this little slice of the galaxy has ever seen. Being technically able to build together planet-side in No Man's Sky can be very fun, but the system constantly reminds you that it was not well designed for this purpose. A permission system for each base is helpful, but it's a little limiting, and the fact that you're still technically building your own stuff in proximity to someone else's stuff can make tandem building a bit of a challenge, but it can be done and has been used to amazing effect by some extremely talented builders and artists. Other games have done this better. Systems that allow multiple players to add to a single structure in a way that's intuitive and doesn't require a ton of setup to make building as a team much more enjoyable. The limits of tandem building in No Man's Sky are annoyances to work around. I personally find them to be more tedious than anything. That said, it does a good job of mitigating a very annoying feature of systems that allow players to build and craft together, which is to say, destruction. This permission system and the strict distinction between one player setup and another's makes this easier, and knowing that your stuff isn't going to get destroyed when you're not online makes putting effort into building cool stuff more relaxing and worthwhile. So, you know where you are. You took down the portal coordinates of this planet so you can always find your way back to your shared home, and now it's time to go back to your base and your settlement and see how things are getting along there. You wave your goodbyes and hop in your ship and head off to the system space station. So, you head over to your station's portal. You locate your home system in the portal network and you leap through. You've chosen to return to your base, bypassing the station and having to fly down. You walk over to where your animal feeders are, and there is a creature towering over you. Peaceful. You approach, and from your inventory, you throw some pellets to the ground. More and more, and eventually it warms to you. You open up your menu and select a companion slot. It's your pet now. You spend time with the creature. Eventually, it lays an egg. You take your friend's egg to the space anomaly, and there you find a machine. You put your egg into the machine. From your inventory, you select a number of catalyst materials and input these into the machine as well. You hit the switch, and the machine pops open. You remove the egg, and now all you can do is wait. Soon, it begins to shake. It's ready to hatch. You take it down to your base, and soon your friend's child is born. Soon, though, it grows. It's taller. Its hide is a different color, and it has an appendage that your friend does not. Your manipulations have changed it into something new. You've created new life, and you can only wonder from here how much more you can do. Genetic manipulation and animal creation was a very interesting system to add to the game, but it fits well into the world and uses existing systems in a unique way to give you the ability to be creative. While you never know what you're going to get, you can make decisions during the sequencing process that will achieve specific outcomes so that you can mess around with the mechanics of the system and have a bit of agency. The creature that comes out will be unique. You really get to use your creativity to get experimental, and there's a distinct mad scientist vibe to the whole thing, which I have to admit, is what I look for often and find too rarely. I think an opportunity was missed to allow animals to breed a population that could be set free to continue breeding on a given planet. This would allow players to not only create unique creatures, but use them to affect the environment as well. As it is, it's just a system that allows you to make a cool new pet. This is still really cool. They aren't just cosmetic. You can equip them with specialized gear, mount and ride them, and have them help out in a fight. The system really changes the way you can handle certain situations. Your new friends have become close companions. They provide milk to cook with and can help you locate mineral resources. You've been eating simple nutrients to stay alive for so long, but a whole new world has opened up to you. The world of cooking. So, you've caught a few fish and milked a few dinosaurs. Time to get cooking. You refine some elements into simple ingredients. You fry up the fish, adding a few more items for flavor. You cook up some strange roots you found. I'm sure they'll be delicious and won't kill you, even slightly. The aromas coming from your kitchens seem to alarm the crew wandering around your freighter. None of them seem the least bit hungry. After the smoke clears and the mess is cleaned up, you have your food. How do you know if it's any good? Time to bring it to a professional. You pile your dishes into your starship and blast off to the space anomaly. You land and head up to the balcony, and there, staring at you disapprovingly, is the greatest chef in the galaxy. He bids you step forth, and you offer up your meager creations. He tries each dish and, in turn, spits each bit to the floor. You've failed. You're a failure. Well, at least he tosses you a couple nanites for your trouble. The cooking system in No Man's Sky is pretty fun. It's not too complex, but you can still get creative with it. Food's not just cosmetic, offering a number of benefits when eaten, which gives you a good reason to interact with the system, but no need to spend any time on it if you don't want to. There's an element of discovery, and all sorts of materials, both rare and mundane, can be used to cook with. You might wonder how adding carbon into your dish will make it taste any better, but the simplicity of the task elevates the form in this case. The added benefit of having your cooking judged by a professional chef who will pay you some nanites for the food adds a touch of flavor to the system that's pretty unique. So, you've got your base, your town, your freighter, your fleet, your squadron, your pets, your friends. Your ships are armed to the teeth, and your captains are bringing in new materials daily. Pirates can't touch you, and you spend time exploring abandoned wrecks full of danger to find treasures. Time to put that all together. So, you now rule over a vast trading empire, as do your friends. Some enterprising starfarers have started federations and galactic exploration consortiums. You can help them if you want, or you and your friends can build yourself an empire that spans systems. You can find trade routes for certain goods and move them between star systems. You can head to some pirate ports to trade contraband. You can build cities and bases and trade networks. The possibilities are endless. Remember, from humble beginnings, you built this. You crafted and designed and experimented and fought your way to get to where you are now. You can build anything you can dream of. Or you can rule what you have with an iron fist and blast your enemies to dust. Up to you. Once you get to a point with No Man's Sky, you really do feel like you've built not just a series of physical structures and cool items, but a massive trait network or pirate empire. You can design your experience in a way that fits your style of play, and if you like being creative with craft and build systems, you can create something totally unique. An experience you can't have anywhere else. And you can invite others to share it with you. Or they can attack you and you can defend yourself. Whatever works. For the most part, the limits of this world challenge you to be creative rather than being limits that just get in your way. The systems by which you craft and build fit well into the setting, and you can shape the world around you in ways that let you channel your inner crafter, builder, designer. You can feel like you're part of this vast world populated not just by NPCs, but by other players. You can share with them and see what they've built. You can even allow public access to your bases so you can show them off if you want. I've only touched on the craft and build systems in this video, but there are so many other things to do in No Man's Sky. The game is mainly about exploring and trading, finding new things, and sharing them with others. And yeah, I was there from the initial launch, and things were not always thus. But now, for someone with an itch for crafting, building, and design, I love popping back in and seeing what's up. We may soon see the release of Hello's newest offering, Light No Fire, and I look forward to delving deep into that one and seeing what secrets I can tease out of its crafting and build systems. It looks like they're taking lessons they've learned from No Man's Sky and putting them to good use from the footage I've seen. Part of the reason I wanted to talk about No Man's Sky is that I feel like I came off a little bit negative on it in my last video, so I wanted to show that I really enjoy it, despite what I consider to be its flaws. So if you've enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, Internet.